Thanks for tuning in to the Old Dirty Basement. On this week's episode, we're covering Bruiser Brody.
Yeah, this ties into a whole thing we had this week going to see PWE wrestling, and we thought it'd be cool to put a real wrestler on a true crime, and that's where we got this man, Bruiser Brody.
Man, hell yeah, and he lived up to his name. I mean, this guy was so misunderstood, so disheveled, so... now he's so dead.
Yeah, definitely. I got to sit down with PWE co-founder Colin, a friend of ours. We had a couple questions that came up during the recording of this, and Colin was nice enough to sit down and give me a little quick interview to answer a couple questions we had. So listen to that, and then after that, sit back, relax, and enjoy Bruiser Brody. Hey, this is Dave with the Old Dirty Basement, sitting down with Colin from PWE Empire. How's it going, Colin?
Hey, what's up? Glad to be here. Man, I'm doing well, Dave. How about you?
Good, man. Good. Yeah, so we really enjoyed the event the other day. The PWE Empire had the Battleground event. In honor of that, we're doing 2 episodes dealing with wrestling. We did the Vintage Cinema review and No Holds Barred, and we're doing the Bruiser Brody here. Now, we had pre-recorded that, and there were some questions that came up, and we figured you'd be the guy to ask. So you familiar with the Bruiser Brody story, correct?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. So do you have any input on that? I guess you watched the Vice documentary, I'm sure, like you told me about. And
yeah, I mean, it's probably one of the most infamous stories dealing with professional wrestling crimes and things of that nature. So I kind of always knew about it, even at a younger age. It was sort of always there lurking, and once I got older and was able to kind of do my own research, figure out what had happened, and then with the development of some of these shows on Vice, like you had mentioned, really eye-opening stuff, man. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it definitely was. And like a couple of things that came up, and we figured you probably know. So these guys, when they travel now, Bruiser Brody wrestled in Japan. Looks like he was traveling all over the world. So like when these, and there's obviously regional wrestling all over the place. So when these guys travel, are they usually like comped for that? Does it come out of their own pocket? Like how does that, like tell us a little bit about how that usually works with like wrestling.
Sure. Well, it depends. Back in these days, Bruiser Brody, these were what people refer to as the territory days.
Okay.
So this is before WWF and Vince McMahon really took over professional wrestling, for lack of a better word. Vince actually went in and bought all of the territories out and took their top talent, combined everything to create, the WWF, WWE as it's referred to now. So with that being said, back in the old days, you could work for as many different territories really as you wanted to. If they were going to hire you, bring you in, you got your payday, but then, you're a 1099 worker. So you're basically you're responsible for your meals, your travel, and everything. And depending on what level of star you were in those days, depended on what your payday was. And, even back in the 70s and 80s, some of these paydays were insane.
Oh,
so they didn't have any problems, paying for their own flights and stuff like that.
So usually if a guy would go to a different area, like say, well, like these guys are going international. Even Laszlo was saying that like some of the belts, like the PWE belt, made trips to Japan and different places like that. So when these guys go to these areas, they usually stay for like not just like a couple nights. Usually, then do they stay there for weeks, months at a time, and they actually do like that's what we were kind of thinking.
Yep, like an international tour. If you were going to Japan or like in this case Puerto Rico, Bruiser Brody, you're typically going in for some kind of a tour. If I'm a promoter and I'm bringing in guys and I'm paying them, tens of thousands of dollars in some circumstances to come in, I got to get the most for my money. I'm booking 3-4 shows a weekend if I can and getting these guys in the door, on a plane rather, coming into Puerto Rico, coming into Japan, and we're getting as much work done as possible. Japan's a little different, whereas they'll pay a guy, $60,000 to come over and stay for a month, and they'll treat them basically like royalty. And obviously the payday for a month's work, imagine $60,000, what it was in 1975.
Oh yeah.
So, again, they're paying your expenses, but a lot of times too, you're getting a lot of perks that come with being an international star as well.
Yeah, and I know they said Brody was big in Japan, and that's where he did. And I actually heard that there was a chance that maybe if all this would have went down, that he might have ended up in the WWF at some time at one point. That was going to lead me into the next question. So wrestlers, unlike a lot of other sports, would you say that you usually hit your like peak, or not peak, but like a lot of guys can wrestle into their 50s and 60s, correct? Like a lot of guys won't really hit that major fame until they're a little bit older in life, correct? Like 30s, 40s sometimes. Is that correct?
That's the way it used to be.
Okay.
It's a young man's game now.
Is it? Okay.
It's different, right? So there's always politics with anything. And, in the territory days, it was especially political. You'd have older generations of professional wrestlers that would get dug in within a territory, and they basically create their own spot, and they don't want to give it up. So yeah, you'd have guys like and these aren't negative connotations,
right?
But you'd have guys like Jerry the King Lawler. You might recognize that.
Yes.
name.
Yep.
Those guys ran Memphis wrestling for years.
Okay.
They had it on lockdown. I mean, it's a business, so they don't want anybody coming in without permission, et cetera. So that's kind of the way it was back in the day. So to your point, yeah, in those days, you'd have a lot of guys that were in their 50s and 60s still getting in the ring because that was their livelihood. That was their territory. Vince McMahon comes in, buys all the territories out, takes up the top stars, changes the game, changes the rules, and it becomes, evolves into more of a younger man, younger women's sport.
Okay.
In the 80s, you had the larger than life characters, like you guys were reviewing the movie No Holds Barred.
Correct.
Very similar to that, the main characters in that movie. Now there are guys that are much, much smaller that are on top of, the match sheet. Guys that are, 5'7", 5'8", less than 200 pounds are world champions now, whereas that would have never been the case back in the day. So lots of things have changed.
That's way different than like I was thinking. Because when they were talking about Brody, but you're right, in that era, at that time, he was in his 40s when he was killed, but they were kind of saying like at that point things were going to start happening. And,
right.
I guess as you're saying, that's totally different now. It's like you can get in, you could become a star in your 20s, early 20s, I guess is what you're kind of saying. And I guess that, he was before all that. But I thought that was an interesting fact on him that, he was maybe at that age going to just start with the WWF at that time. And that would have been for him, later in life in his 40s. So that's interesting. Yeah. So those are like two of the things that came up during this podcast that we were, we figured you would know. You would have some insight on it. But yeah, that was a crazy crime. And they, to this day, I mean, the guy's free. And it was a cool one to cover. So it was definitely interesting. So PWE, man, that was a good time. What, you guys got anything coming up you want to talk about quick before we end this?
Listen, we'll be back at Dauphin County Tech on April 22nd. That's another Saturday. So in a few months, we'll have another event out there. It's going to be an exciting show. We'll look forward to linking back up with you guys beforehand and maybe doing a little something to promote it, and then we can get you guys back out there as well.
Definitely. We would love that, man. We would love it, and we'll definitely be letting our listeners know. And Colin, thanks again for sitting down with us and enlightening us on this stuff, because you're our go-to guy, man, with wrestling and stuff like that. Obviously, you're going to know. So we hope everybody sits back and enjoys our coverage of Bruiser Brody.
I appreciate it, Dave. Thanks, man. Have a great night, everybody.
All right. Thanks, Colin.
Bye.
This is the Old Dirty Basement, home to debauchery, madness, murder, and mayhem. A terror-filled train ride deep into the depths of the devil's den.
With a little bit of humor,
history,
and copious consciousness.
I'm your announcer, Shallow Throat. Your hosts are Dave, Matt, and Zap. I love you, Matthew McConaughey. All right, all right, all right.
Hey, this is Dave.
Matt,
and Zap.
and welcome to the Old Dirty Basement.
Where every week we cover a true crime.
Murder,
Or compelling story.
So sit back.
relax.
And comprehend.
Hey, hello, welcome to the Old Dirty Basement. We have a wrestling special for you all tonight.
Oh my God.
Here we are.
Yeah.
This guy is in the zone.
Yeah, he's
No,
still.
we're about wrestling, man.
he's
Hell
still,
yeah, I'm saying.
he's still hyped up from Saturday.
I know, it was amazing. I
Yeah.
loved it.
That was awesome.
I need another job.
So at the time this is airing, it's probably been a couple weeks out, but we were at that PWE wrestling event. So this week's going to be wrestling themed with the true crime and the movie review.
Yeah, we did No Holds Barred, and now we're doing Bruiser Brody.
Bruiser Brody.
Right. So if you're in the wrestling world, I'm sure you've heard of this. Even if you're not, you maybe heard about it. I was not aware of it. I didn't really know much about it, but talking to Colin, the co-founder of PWE, who I'm friends with, he said this is like a huge story, and anybody in wrestling is well aware of it. So,
And that's to our buddies at Pro Wrestling Empire, who we were at on Saturday night
yep,
at Votech. I think they usually have it at Zembo.
yes,
But yeah, these guys, I mean, it was a train ride of fun.
I didn't want to get off that train.
No.
it was a good time.
Woo woo.
Yeah, our boy Laszlo retains the title.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the Hungarian hero.
Speaking of which, Laszlo, we're gonna reach out. We want to get a shirt. I think we all talked about that.
Yeah,
right?
I forgot to buy a shirt when I was
Yeah,
there.
so
Yeah.
give us the price. I think we need what, like 3 large? I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll work. Yeah, Laszlo, we're gonna reach out. That's
I'm
our
not in
boy.
the extra yet, but
Yeah,
I need to keep it down at the large.
it was definitely cool. It was an experience that that wrestling world. It brought it all back to me. I kind of remember like how passionate these fans are and these people are about wrestling when we were there. Like people who are fans of wrestling are pretty hardcore. They're pretty much into it.
What I found cool as shit was there was like a family. There was a dad, his dad,
Oh, damn it.
and a kid. Oh, I'm sorry, man.
No. Go ahead.
Could
Because
I
I
take the cake?
You did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go for it. Keep going.
No, but they were sitting in front of us, probably like 5 yards in front of us, and it was they had these wrestling belts that, I mean, they weren't like the cheap
They were legit.
These were actual, factual, real deal Holyfield belts.
110%. So I mean, this guy is like probably hardworking people. I mean, they're putting out money to get something, but they were so important to them that they had them on their shoulders, like they were like wrestling champions.
Oh yeah.
They didn't put them down.
No.
And they walked around like
Well, probably because they were $1,000.
Well, yeah.
What do you take?
I wouldn't put it down either. Yeah.
No.
But yeah, I did see that. I think it was more than one there. Like,
Yeah,
walking around with it.
quite a
Yeah.
few people.
Yeah.
But yeah, another big thank you to the Hungarian hero,
Right.
Laszlo and Colin for having us there. And like anytime, man, like it was a lot of fun.
It was definitely fun, and I thought it was so cool. Like in the very first person to come out was a little kid. How about it?
Yeah, that little kid was great. He's the little kid comes over. So are you guys wrestlers? No. Can I have your autograph anyway? Sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
That was awesome.
Which is
Yeah.
something like my short life on this earth. It's something I will recall.
Oh yeah, he was so cool. Like he came
Yeah.
over and he had like a little wrestling figure in a box or something he was
Yes.
carrying around. Yeah,
He sure did.
I think he was looking for that guy. He's like, has
Yeah.
anybody seen this guy?
right,
Hey, while you're here.
Is he going to be here today? Yeah.
right.
But then we said, we have a podcast, and we should have got his name. We could have gave him a shout out.
Yeah, I mean maybe.
But yeah, he asked, what we do. And we're like, no, it's a podcast. And he's like, oh, you guys like wrestling? He's like, well, can I get your autograph anyway?
yeah, I mean
And I think it was really neat.
it was cool, and yeah, and Zap like we talked about in No Holds Barred, which you'll hear later this week. Zap was nice enough to bring his figures along from the WWF.
The originals, the OGs. These are the heavy, thick rubber ones.
Right.
Yeah.
And you told a cool story about your toys and stuff, right? You had to save these.
Heavy, thick
Oh my
rubber
God,
ones
yeah.
and toys.
I had to save these from the burn pile. My mom was going through
What, Rita was going to throw them out?
a big binge phase. She's, I don't know, whatever kind of cleaning. She's throwing boxes of shit away. And I was fortunate to be able to save my WWF wrestling figures.
Yeah, you had some cool ones. Gene Okerlund, I saw there, and
Gene Okerlund, Hulk Hogan,
Yeah.
Junkyard Dog,
Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Roddy Piper.
Roddy
I saw.
Piper,
Oh, no, Big John Studd.
Big John Studd,
Iron Sheik.
Nikolai Volkov.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. It was fun.
Yeah.
You had definitely some cool ones, and the people there were very into those. And like I was saying, Zap, it was almost like he brought bait along.
Yeah.
It was like they were like drawn to it. Oh man, look at those figures and stuff. So that was cool, man. It was a cool event, and it inspired us obviously to do today's story, which is Bruiser Brody.
Yeah, Bruiser Brody, also known as King Kong Brody, also known as the Masked Marauder, also known as Red River Jack.
Was he from the Texas area?
Because
Because it's like a Red River thing.
I know that he was born, his real name is, his Christian name is Frank Donald Goodish.
Mm.
He was born on June 18th, 1946.
If I was a wrestler, then I would be Batter Goodish.
Mm-hmm. And I think he was born in Pennsylvania, right?
Yes.
Was he?
Yeah, I believe so.
Uniontown, PA.
Yeah.
Huh.
So he's local.
Cool.
1946. So he would have been 70 math.
Where's Uniontown
Six.
at? Does anybody know Uniontown? Like whereabouts in PA?
Is that like Allentown area?
I don't know. Let me look it up.
I'm living here in Uniontown.
Might be a different spot.
And I'm throwing all the wrestlers down.
You know, that song was really based on Bethlehem,
Bethlehem,
Pennsylvania.
but they couldn't rhyme anything with Bethlehem.
That's right.
So,
Or rhyme as well.
yes. Good
Mm.
Bethlehem.
It just
And
doesn't
I'm
roll off the tongue as well.
doing lots of stuff with them.
So
Okay.
Yeah,
You-
okay, there you go.
Uniontown's south of Pittsburgh and near the border of West Virginia.
Virginia.
Yeah, so it's on the way. Looks like it'd be on the way if you're going to Morgantown, West Virginia.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't go
So-
to Pittsburgh enough.
Nutley Nick probably goes through there.
No, Morgantown is actually a little shout out to Nutley Nick. A great place to visit if you're
Yeah.
ever on the road. It's basically the University of West Virginia in a town.
Mhm.
Everywhere you go, it's basically West Virginia.
And I think you were trying to bust Nutley Nick's balls the one time about do they have any good Primani brothers down there? I think they actually do have Primani brothers there. Like it's and
I
that's
think that
usually a
was
Pittsburgh thing.
J Dub. I think that was our lawyer.
No,
Was that us? That was me. That was me.
That was you busting his balls.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry about that, Nutley.
So yeah, Uniontown, where this guy was born, looks like it's Western PA, like south of Pittsburgh.
okay.
You guys know more about this guy than I do. I don't have much on his early life. I don't have much of anything on this guy until he
That's
made his
real-
way to Michigan.
Yeah, that's really all I knew is that the PA. That he was born in PA. I just
Oh.
call it that. But
All right. I mean, I got him as so he was an all-state football and basketball player
Mm-hmm.
at Warren High School in Michigan. He then went to college at Texas A&M, West Texas A&M.
West Texas. Okay, that's where the Red River comes in. That's why he called himself the Red River Jack.
oh, that would make sense.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I got you. Because I was like, wait, I thought he was from Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
After his college football career, he then played with four minor league teams over 3 seasons in the Texas Football League and the Continental Football League.
I have no idea what that is.
No, never heard of him.
No, me neither.
The Lincoln Continental Football League.
Maybe.
So this guy was like a super, super good football player. Just, I mean,
Well, look at the size of this guy.
no,
I
I'm
could
just saying
see-
he was just trying to make it. Like,
Yeah.
so he knew that football might have not have been his thing.
Mhm.
So maybe he was saying like, I'm a big dude.
He knew it early enough when he figured out football isn't my thing, and he then became a sports writer.
Right.
Oh,
Well, he did play for the Redskins, right?
Stop.
those are called the Washington football team.
Well,
He
back,
played for the Redskins?
Yeah, back then they were the Redskins. No, that's what they were called.
I can't with this guy.
At that time, they were the Washington Redskins.
Okay,
He
yes, that
played-
was their football team.
He played there. Yeah.
Huh. I did not know that. Either way, he ended up being a sports writer.
Good for you.
He got married to his, well, he went to college.
Yeah.
Your mom went to college.
So he got married in 1968 to Nola Nice.
God, this guy's old.
That
Mm.
marriage lasted all of a year and a half. They divorced in October of 1970.
So they were really in love.
So in love.
Oh.
Mhm.
He got married again in 1972
And then he was in love.
to Barb Smith. Well, now she was with him until the end.
She had his baby.
She was the baby mama.
Okay.
They had a son together, Jeffrey Dean, who was born in 1980, later half of 1980.
Yeah, I think she was Australian, the wife.
That is
I mean,
correct.
Yeah.
I do remember reading that.
Yeah.
She put some on the ball, baby.
Yeah. From down. I think she was working at
She
like
was- yeah,
a
she was from-
hotel or something
yeah.
that he was at. Yeah.
She was from down under.
Mm-hmm.
He was down under.
Oh.
So while working as a sports writer, he said, "You know what? I'm missing something in my life." He ended up training to wrestle, and he trained under Fritz von Erich, whose real name is Jack Adkisson.
Then how's he
Mm.
Fritz von Erich?
Fritz von Erich is his stage name.
Like
I'm just saying
wrestling.
that's quite a stretch from like just like a regular dude.
Mm.
Like what he was like, I'm Fritz von Erich.
Yeah.
I mean, wherever the mind goes.
What is Fritzy? That's German.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
Fritz von Erich for sure.
I dig it.
What does Von mean in like a name? Like is that like Von? Is that like a? Could you hear that in a lot of names? Von this, Von that. Isn't it
the like
in another
German
language?
speak?
Is it something for?
I think it's the
Is it the
or king or something?
Okay.
Whatever.
There we go. Fingerbox Jones.
Go ahead, you guys speak on.
Yeah, just curious because I hear it.
I think it's actually.
So as he was learning to be a wrestler, and while he was a sports writer,
Why don't they have wrestling? Is that what they have in like China? Isn't there like wrestling school when you're like 5?
I mean, I know that.
No, don't they?
I know
like
train their Olympians like crazy.
They separate children at like an early age if they have some sort of strength in something.
Well, I know they do that for baseball. With Japanese, they do that.
Mm-hmm.
They those kids in baseball, like you see them in the Little League World Series. That's all they do.
Really?
Hours and hours and hours and hours a day. Yes, because they're not power hitters or throwing, but they're just like so repetitive with the throwing motions and ground balls and this and that and swinging that they just become so good at it because that's all they do. Go ahead.
So anyway, Von, the preposition form of in German is of.
Eric of Fritz.
He was Fritz of Eric.
Or Fritz of Eric, vice versa.
There you go. So he trained under Fritz of Eric, and he then started competing, not unlike Laszlo.
Of or from, I'm sorry.
Thank
of
you, man.
or from.
Oh.
Or from. Okay.
Yes.
That
Laszlo. Go
That
ahead.
made a difference.
Yes.
It's from, of, from.
What'd you say about Laszlo?
I forget.
He's Hungarian.
He is Hungarian.
He's a hero.
He's Laszlo of Hungary.
Of Hungary.
Laszlo von Hungary.
I got to ask Laszlo a question about Pez.
Oh,
Did you know that that's where their one headquarters is over there in Europe is in Hungary?
had no idea.
Yeah, the Pez headquarters.
And there's something on Netflix about Pez right now?
That's what I watched.
Okay.
Freaking awesome show. I mean, my wife came down.
There's a show on Pez.
about Pez,
Pez.
collectors.
To be clear, I understand what Pez is.
Let me give you a little quick breakdown on this because
Was the name of the show Pez?
It's like it's the Pez King or something, or the Pez something. This guy figured out these collectors in the U.S. There's a Pez USA and then there's Pez International. Pez USA only imports certain. They like, oh, we're not approving that, and they just won't let them come into the country. They pick the ones that'll be distributed. This guy figured out I can go straight to Europe, bag them up, bring them back, and sell them on the black market. These hard to get Pez dispensers, these people pay like $1,000, $1,500 for like these rare Pez dispensers. And he would go to Hungary, and there was another. The other one was in Slovenia. These Pez factories, and he would hook up with the workers there and like do deals. Like, hey, give me a couple duffel bags of these Pez dispensers, and then he would bring them back here, and people would pay top dollars. You can't get them here.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's a wild documentary. But
Isn't that what they thought the Beanie Babies were going to be like? And then that whole thing just like went toilet.
They did go big toilet.
Yep.
One big flush.
People are like, oh, I got the Princess Diana Beanie Baby. Like that's $1.50.
Yep.
But
So this guy was a freelance wrestler. I mean, he did have a day job. But I mean, from what I read, like he was all over the place. Like he was in a lot of the companies that weren't, not unlike,
he was world class champion wrestling, worldwide wrestling federation, Central States Wrestling, champion wrestling from Florida, American Wrestling Association, All Japan Pro Wrestling. There you go. A lot of wrestling.
There's a
places.
ton of them. Yeah.
There was a ton.
But he was involved in all of
World
these.
Wrestling Council,
Windy City, Chicago Wrestling.
Championship Wrestling from Florida.
This is in the 70s now, right?
Yeah.
Old Dirty Wrestling.
Old Dirty Wrestling.
It's coming soon.
In the basement.
Right.
So, I mean, he was all over the place. He wasn't just in America. Like, he went to Japan, too.
Yes.
So, I mean, he had feuds with, with heels or whatever, however the storylines go. He had feuds with basically in each one of these leagues, right? So, whenever he shows up, I know that he's the bad guy here, or he's going to be fighting with this guy, or it's going to be something different in a different league.
But he was always the bad guy. He was never a good guy because he just had that persona.
Yeah, swinging that chain around. And all that.
Like I don't understand how that's legal.
Well, it's the 70s,
I guess, but I mean, if you see video of this guy, which is on YouTube, he comes out to the ring with this chain, and he probably has like 6 or 8 feet.
Yeah, I think he used to hit, like people would get hit in the crowd.
Yeah, but imagine getting hit with a chain, like swinging in the air.
I'm good.
Got to be a lawsuit, man. It's people's lawyers.
It's like, get down. Bruiser Brody's coming.
Yeah.
Doing the
And if you
chain
don't get down,
helicopter.
if you take a chain to the face,
Punch to the face.
yeah, man, like come on, Bruiser.
So I was looking at some of his feuds. There was only one name that I know. Excuse me. His name is Kamala,
Yes.
the Ugandan giant. So I always knew him as Kamala, the Ugandan headhunter,
Yes.
because that's how the refer or the announcers would speak to him, because he was dressed as a headhunter.
Right.
He had the makeup on his face, and he wore the
He was in the WWF.
Correct.
African kilt.
Yep. But
of
his
some sort.
But his actual stage name was the Ugandan Giant.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just knew him as the headhunter.
And I'm surprised to see as of this documentary I was watching, he's still around.
Mm-hmm.
Kamala.
Yes. Because he was one of the ones.
Wait, not wrestling though.
Well, no, he's got
he
a
gotta
walker
be
and
60.
stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm watching that clips from him back in the day with Bruce.
I'm sorry. Well, no, he's not wrestling. He's got a walker and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he still could wrestle, but he looked like he could barely move around back then, and that was back in the day. They were showing clips and stuff.
Yeah, big belly.
Oh, he's a big dude. Yeah.
Big belly. So one thing though that I guess is noteworthy when it comes to Bruiser Brody, he would refuse he refused jobbing or selling to other wrestlers. Like
What's that mean?
So he would not
lose a match.
That's it.
He would agree
Oh.
to. They'll say, "Hey, I want you to come in. I want you to lose this match so this guy can move on." He's like, "Hell no, I ain't doing
I
it."
was not going to do it.
Mm-hmm. That was his reputation was I don't lose.
I'm just always winning. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Like Charlie Sheen.
just like
but he was
Winning.
winning.
tiger blood.
Yeah, he was also known to like intentionally hit or hurt opponents, which people were very, what's that, weary? What's the word you use? Weary to go against
Yeah,
him
weary.
because they were like, maybe we would get hurt or like, chains wrapped around your fist, punched in the face, punched to the face,
Power drive to the face.
a slap in the base.
So he was slapping the face. So as Matt had mentioned,
Right.
this guy ended up building a reputation for himself, and he became a poster boy for hardcore wrestling. And this is just that brawling that no matter what, by the end of it, one of the two guys is going to be bleeding.
Right.
And if you ever see a picture of this guy, which I hope you look him up and check him out.
Well, he'll be on the cover probably.
Yeah, but his forehead, you can see where just like
Scarred
there's
up.
just scarred up, and you can tell like I don't know how they used to do with.
Was that why Kamala's head was like that too? Is that all scarring? You know,
Maybe.
Yeah, because his head was similar, like all scarred on the because
like,
he's bald.
Could be.
Yeah.
They
Cage
used to-
matches and
Yes.
getting hit with 2x4s or whatever.
They used to put razor blades or pieces of razor in their.
I've heard this. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
Okay.
And
okay.
take aspirin so they would bleed.
They would
more.
bleed more, and so
That'll come into play later.
they would go down like they would take a hit to the head with something, and they would like be down on the ground like scratching their eyes or whatever, and they would take this piece of razor or something sharp and cut their foreheads, and then they would just be a bloody mess,
Just yeah,
and it was all for show.
just like Ferris Bueller faking being sick and all that.
Just faking it.
Yeah,
We should come down the basement
cutting it.
doing
That'd be
Doing
awesome.
doing live broadcasts, like
Hell
blood
yeah.
flowing all over our
Yeah.
faces.
That'd be great.
That would be pretty cool.
Like I'm going to stay with it. I'm going to stop this podcast. They're like, no, that's enough. That's enough. No, I got it.
Gotta finish.
Yeah.
Eventually, he did join Vinnie Mac's at the time WWF. 3 W's and an F.
What was the
In
third W?
1976.
Wonder if he ever wrestled Tugboat Jimmy.
I wonder.
Yeah, you guys remember him?
Yeah, Tugboat Jimmy
Like
was
vaguely?
he was
Yeah.
he was big in the that was underground wrestling.
Yeah.
Heard he was a douche.
I think that was in the international market, the international circuit.
Yeah.
That was the All Douche Wrestling Association.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
So I think I got to believe that the extra W is maybe the Worldwide Wrestling Federation
Worldwide Wrestling. Okay.
Yeah.
or Wounded World Wrestling Federation. Who knows?
So yeah, this guy was a volatile dude. Like he was into anything, beating people up, chains, and sounds like BDSM stuff, but like chains. They use
Chains and whips.
whips
and
and
What is it again?
ASMR.
ASMR. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is a really cool podcast.
So it was here. So he fought Bruno Sammartino. He ended up
yeah, I
teaming up
remember him.
with. I have the wrestler, the figure, Big John Studd.
Oh, they were a tag
yeah.
team?
Yeah. Yep. And he had his first encounter with a guy by the name of Jose Gonzalez.
Mm.
I thought you were going to say Jose Feliciano.
Is that is that Invader?
Invader 1?
Is that
Oh,
his name?
yes, Jose
Oh,
Gonzalez,
okay.
who went by the handle of Invader 1.
So is there more than one Invader?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Invader 2?
Invader
Maybe
2.
Invader
he
3.
could have just made, just in case, he wanted to be the first one.
Invader 1, yeah.
Yeah.
Like Air Force 1.
Yep. Just like Tugboat 1.
Tugboat 1, yep.
Was that Tugboat Jimmy?
I mean, Tugboat Jimmy back in the day, he was like a legend.
Oh, man, I didn't
Yeah.
know. I know he likes wrestling.
I think he was
Tugboat
on
Jimmy.
he might have been on that documentary. I think I saw him like in the one clip.
Tugboat Jimmy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is he a
probably.
heavyset gentleman?
He is now.
Like somebody named Tugboat, like you would think he's like a big dude.
I'm not sure. I'm not
Okay.
sure.
Like
yeah.
Bluto from Popeye.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's what I picture, I guess, with the
Yeah.
name, but yeah.
I'm thinking more like Sweet Pea
That's my sweet
or olive oil.
Yeah.
Did we do that show? Did anybody mention that one yet?
What, Popeye?
Yeah.
The movie?
Yeah,
with,
the movie.
Robin Williams.
Yeah.
I am's what I am.
Yeah. I don't remember if I liked that movie back in the day.
I tried watching that recently. It's a hard watch.
Is it a hard watch?
It's tough.
I remember it as a kid. It was on HBO for a while. Just thought it was cool.
It's tough.
They had like a horse race track, but it was
Yeah.
like one of those like the fake ones.
Yeah. That was Robin Williams, right? Played Popeye?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
this,
olive oil was
the
girl
chick
from,
The
The Shining.
Shining.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this guy was all over the place. I mean, basically, he
kind of
was
like us right now.
from Vinnie Mac's WWF. He was back and forth with the New Japan Pro Wrestling. Then he moved to work primarily for the World Wrestling Council in Puerto Rico. He briefly returned to All Japan Pro Wrestling.
Puerto Rico.
He let's see. In 1988, he actually formed the Triple Crown Heavyweight Championship when he won against the NWA United National and PWF champion Genichiro Tenryu.
See, this is what I read about this guy.
He lost that 4 days later.
Wow.
But he wanted to get into promoting. So as people that promote their own fights, they set themselves up to win, and that was all part of his. He was like, "I'm not going to lose."
I'm undefeated, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when people would sign up, they would know that they're in it to lose, but they thought they would get some sort of
A payday off of it.
yeah.
And maybe get another fight.
Which still, I mean, I would like to talk to Colin or Laszlo and see like what the monies is in like a situation like that to start a wrestling program, or like what is PWE or what is the different ones that they have around here.
Like how much money to get it started, you mean?
Yeah,
Or-
yeah, like to get it started, or what you would pay like a champion. Like what does a champion make?
Yeah, I guess it depends on what you're bringing in. Like I know I watched some of these clips of in Japan where he was wrestling.
Mhm.
It was like packed house. And I'm sure they were doing like really good money over there. I think I did hear a number that they were making. I can't remember now. I'm not going to say but I think it was like pretty decent money.
And
Back then,
Laszlo
yeah.
said with a lot of people, he said that belt was everywhere. Like, so those guys do travel. They
Yeah.
go to Japan. They go to,
Mhm.
yeah,
They
different
could
places.
defend them in different places.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what this guy ended up doing.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
he merged like three titles together from, let's say he took one from PWE and then he took one from WCW and he took one from the other one. So now he has this unified championship.
Of all three, yeah.
Yeah.
Just walking around with belts.
It's like in boxing, the undisputed.
Heavyweight
Yes.
champion
Yeah.
of the world, Mike Tyson.
So insofar as his career, I mean, there was, so here's a testament to this guy's character. So there was a very infamous cage match he'd had with Lex Luger in 1987.
He was a pretty big friggin' wrestler.
Yeah, oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
So in the middle of the match, Brody just stops. Like he just quits. He just was stopped and just looked around. So Luger and the referee are trying to talk to him, and like, he's not paying attention. He's not listening. He's not doing a damn thing. He's just standing there. And it's like they're thinking like, what's wrong with this guy? Like, is he stroking out?
Yeah.
Like, is something going on?
It's like incoherent or whatever.
So look, no matter what, there was a script, of course, or there was something that was supposed to happen, but again, Brody didn't want to go through with it. So again, he just stopped talking. So the ref. So anyway, as an attempt to try to keep the story going, Luger started beating on him and pushing him into a corner, and beating on him. And again, he's not fighting back or doing anything. So in true, thinking quickly on my feet fashion, the referee, I'm pulling you off of him, Lex Luger. I'm going to pull you off, and Lex Luger kept trying to go at him. And so this is like, okay, I'm just going to, what are we going to do here? How do we have to keep this storyline going? And of course, the referee ends up disqualifying Lex Luger for not listening to the referee.
Oh, shit.
So I told you to stop beating on this guy. So, okay. Looks like Brody won that one. That
By
was
default.
By default.
Yeah, I guess he just stopped working. Like he's like, I'm done.
Well, there's there's two stories to this. One is, again, he's not going to job it, or he's not going to sell out.
So do you think he was supposed to lose that one? Or?
Well, it could be that.
It does say that he decided to forego the finish, so that's why he didn't. He was like, I know I'm supposed to lose, but I'm not going to lose this match.
Yep.
He'd rather take the disqualification.
He forgoed the finish, he said.
Forgo, yes.
Forgo, like edging.
Forwent. So also another possibility to this is that he was pissed with his promoters over his paychecks. Like he just wasn't getting paid enough. And he just decided to just embarrass the whole promotion. Like he was, just forget you, WCW or WWF or whatever the hell this is.
Right.
Forget you. I'm quitting.
Right in the middle of the finale.
I actually saw that happen once.
Oh, really?
I saw it happen on WWF once. They had introduced this wrestler to come out, and like this, somebody I'd never seen before, was like just a new dude.
Right. And
he came out and he started, he tried to explain like his shtick,
right.
like whatever it was. And he was in the middle of the interview. He's like, you know what? I'm sorry. I can't do it. I quit. And he just walked away.
They're like, thank you.
What was that?
But this was on the telly. Like this was a live event.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
But they said that Luger in that battle, because Luger, who we know who he is now, like he was supposed to be an up and comer, like they wanted him to start winning matches, and I guess when they went to the back there, he was saying to Bruiser, he was like, hey man, what did I do to upset you? Like we knew like the whole thing, we planned it out, and he's like, did I upset you anyway? And I guess Brody was like, no, and just like walked away.
That was it.
So he didn't really respond or answer, and Luger was like, what? F, man, I thought
many words.
Yeah, I thought that this was what we planned. Like I'm supposed to go to the next level, because like how we were saying, there's so many of these.
Yeah, I wonder.
So many.
The funny thing about wrestling too is that like a lot of these guys, they hit their prime as far as like other athletes, usually in your 20s, early 20s, mid. You're at your prime and whatever else. But we're wrestling, a lot of these guys are in their 30s
and 40s even.
When they hit their most popularity and all that, and they'll wrestle up into their 50s and as long as
I think like the Undertaker got to be like 67 years old.
167.
Oh my God, exactly. Like I don't. Well, he's dead.
He's the Undertaker. That's right.
He's dead already.
Yeah.
So like he could probably wrestle for another 30 years.
I mean, you gotta give McMahon credit for coming up with these names for these wrestlers and the personas and stuff. And I think McMahon's father it was that gave Brody his name, Bruiser Brody. He was big on those like Hulk, Hogan, HH, BB, Bruiser Brody,
CC,
that type stuff.
Alliteration.
Yeah, is that what that's called? Okay.
Alliteration.
Yeah. Tugboat Jimmy.
Yeah, that's not alliteration.
No.
that could be
TBJ.
It could be Tugboat Timmy or Jugboat Jimmy.
Like, ladies and gentlemen, here comes Tugboat Jimmy, or TBJ would be as like TBJ is cool.
Yeah, that's a good name though.
TBJ.
Jesus.
Yeah.
What's
this
that guy?
fight is scheduled for one fall.
What is the guy that does the announcing for boxing?
Oh, Buffer.
Michael Buffer. That's right, Michael Buffer.
Yeah. Which is, I think he makes $1 million.
What'd you say, Jimmy Buffer?
Jimmy Buffer.
That's Margarita. Yeah.
Buffer.
But Buffer's brother does UFC, right?
Michael Buffer.
Michael Buffer
is Jimmy.
Let's get ready to rumble is Michael Buffer.
And then there's another Buffer that does UFC, and his thing is
it's time.
It's time. Yeah.
But that's $1 million right there too.
$1 million.
$1 million.
Jimmy Buffer.
Yep.
Wasted away again. Jimmy Buffer.
Jimmy.
I seen him once at Hershey.
Did you, Jimmy
Yeah,
Buffer?
he just talks about like cheeseburgers and
Getting
Paradise.
high.
Yeah.
getting high.
We was getting hot. Man, you ain't got no job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like margaritas. Yeah, Jimmy Buffer.
So, I mean, I don't know. On this guy, like, I could go through a laundry list. It's a page and a half of all the titles he won. I don't know if that's necessary. I can just tell you that, I mean, I'm looking at, God, at least 20 titles.
Yeah, that's the thing with wrestling and like boxing, like you said, but wrestling's probably even more with
Well, each league and each promotion has its own belt.
its own belt. Yeah.
Right.
We can just go like the guy had a plethora of titles, and then we'll get to.
I mean, he was the champ in All Japan Pro Wrestling, Central States Wrestling, Championship Wrestling from Florida.
That All Japan though. That's like you said, that's like capacity crowds for that.
Capacity.
They love it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge thing. So I mean, this guy was like
Mm-hmm.
He was a
received.
tag team champ with another one of the wrestlers I'd had, Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
Oh, they were tag team.
I didn't
Yep.
even know that.
I'm going
What
to
were
get
they
you
called?
Snuka.
Do you have the tag team name?
They were the world's strongest tag determination league.
Mm.
So it was like an all tag team wrestling.
Sure.
Okay.
All tag team all day. 2 dudes, 1 belt.
That was the wrestling promotion name.
Yeah.
NWA Tri-State, Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, Southwest Champion Wrestling. Let's see.
So this guy was like Tupac. He got around.
Yep.
Okay, I dig it. Like
World Championship Wrestling from Australia. World Wrestling Association, the WWE Hall of Fame.
Hold on for a second there, Zap. I was talking to Dave about this the other day.
Shoot, what do you got?
When you see these guys at the Pro Wrestling Empire, and they were like, I think we mentioned it already, they were talking about how they travel.
Right.
So, like, you need to make enough money to travel, correct? Or does the outfit that you're working for pay for you to? Did they pay for the plane ticket? Or
No, I can promise you, these guys are traveling on their own dime.
That, or I would imagine
that's
that
tough, man.
that unless the let's say you're a draw, maybe the league or the wrestling they want to get you in there. Maybe they'll put up your room and board or something,
Like a stipend. They give
or
you like breakfast and lunch.
Maybe something along those lines. I don't really know. Maybe that'd be a good question. That'd be something cool. Like maybe
I would Colin or Laszlo would know that.
They would know that.
It's got to be for the draw.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying without that draw, you're driving your damn self.
Right.
To Japan.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
I'm
Because
just saying that can't be cheap. Like
you spend $1,000 to travel to make $1,000. Like it's a wash. You know.
But that's what I'm saying. And these at that time, sorry to saying at that time, but these wrestlers were only getting like maybe 300 people, 400 people.
But maybe you go there to work over time. So maybe you go there and work for months and months, like just to like you'll pay that money to go work there or to fly there and stay there, but then you'll work because it's an untapped market.
Yeah.
Maybe like, I'm going to go there. I'm kind of did the circuit here.
And they're making a name for themselves.
Right.
Just growing, trying to
building a brand.
And then somebody sees them at Japan Pro Wrestling, and then they want them at like WLW or World Championship Wrestling Association, shit like that. All right.
Right.
Got to be a hard life, man. It's hard to be a family man.
Hard life. It's even harder when on July 16th, 1988, old Bruiser Brody was in the locker room before a scheduled match. All of a sudden, Jose Huertas Gonzalez, a fellow wrestler and booker, allegedly asked him to step into the shower to discuss some business. Now, I watched this. Yeah, I know where that's going, man.
Yeah.
No.
Hey, man, let's step in the shower. I want to talk some business.
All right.
Bruiser, I like your name.
Yeah.
Why don't you show me how you got that name? Let's step into the shower. I came over while that scene was happening on that show.
The document, Vice.
The documentary on Vice. And Tony Atlas he was a witness to it, or he claims to be a witness to it?
They were all in there sitting like outside. They were in the locker room basically on the fight night.
Right.
And there was a group of wrestlers.
They were all carded for that night.
Tony Atlas being one of them. And they were just kind of all hanging out in there talking about their matches and whatever else, I guess. And
Jose Huertas Gonzalez.
He basically stepped off and then came back with a towel, allegedly, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Atlas said he had a towel like in one hand. He was like, "Hey, come here, I want to talk to you a minute." Talking about Bruiser Brody, and called him into the shower at that point.
Okay.
And it was cool that actually Tony Atlas was he was talking to Bruiser Brody, and he was talking about this in that Vice documentary. Tony Atlas is like a good artist.
Yeah.
A very good artist. He was drawing and stuff, and I guess
he was sketching.
And Bruiser Brody was really impressed, and he pulled out a picture of his son. He's like, hey, would you sketch this for me? And he had this picture in his hand the whole time. And then he goes into the locker room, or into the shower, and we'll take it from there.
Well, no, Tony Atlas was actually Mr. World, or what is it?
He was a
Arnold
big,
Schwarzenegger.
He was a bodybuilder. Before
but
a
he was
wrestler.
Didn't they call? Wasn't there like a Mr. Atlas award or like a?
Yeah, that was his award.
Yeah.
But Schwarzenegger was in those. What was those competitions? Mr. World, Mr. Universe.
Mr. Universe. Yeah.
Tony Atlas was a Mr. Universe.
Mm-hmm.
Wearing banana hammocks like Hulk Hogan did in No Holds Barred.
Yep.
So apparently, an argument starts.
Well, wait. Did
a fight ensues.
Did we go into where all this started from? Did we talk about the fight with Jose Huertas Gonzalez and Bruiser Brody?
Oh, previously? Yeah, they had a match.
All I know is that I'm sure they met. They had a match at the WWF earlier.
Yeah.
3 W's and an F.
But I think it was in. I don't know exactly where.
More
it was.
recent.
Well, it was obviously before this encounter, and I guess Brody beat him up pretty bad.
Where it was like enough that he cut him, like caused him to bleed with like fists alone on. And those guys, he was like a luchador type, so he had on the mask.
The mask, yeah.
So he was bleeding inside his mask, where enough for like Brody to stop, where he couldn't see anything.
Dang.
And then Brody like kind of put him on. I actually watched the match on YouTube, and he put him up against not a chair, a table, a folding table, which is like big in wrestling. And he continued to like kick him and slam him up against this table, and blood was coming down Gonzalez's face, and he wouldn't stop. So the guy was already hurt. Like he must have cut him on something on the floor, because they were fighting on the floor.
Bruiser just kept on bruising.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. And he didn't stop. And they said that they heard Gonzalez say after the match, like, this guy's nuts. Like, I'm going to kill him.
Right. So there was bad blood, no pun intended.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. This explains so much. Because not long after Jose Huertas Gonzalez invites him into the shower with a towel, an argument and a fight ensued. Now, there were no witnesses, just saying in the shower where they went to talk business. But not long after, 2 screams were heard.
And this is where Tony Atlas said it was kind of like, he was like, oh.
Yeah, so that's
and then another, oh. And it was, they were like, what the hell's going on in there?
Right.
And it wasn't from a bad burrito.
No.
Which happens quite often.
It can happen.
Yeah.
Enchiladas. So Atlas runs into the shower, and he finds Brody all bent over, holding his stomach, looks the other way, and there he sees Jose Huertas Gonzalez holding a bloody knife in his hand.
And they said a couple of wrestlers ran into the shower area there, and they said that Brody was cut so bad that his intestines were already like hanging,
popping out a little bit.
like
Really?
the knife was so sharp. And they said he did go for another swing to try to cut his neck or his head, and they said he missed, and the knife was so sharp that it cut his ponytail off. Like, shoo.
Dang.
That thing was sharp.
It's like
Yes.
Excalibur.
But they said, yeah, the one cut wasn't even like, it was kind of more of like an incision, and they said it was so sharp and so deep, it just his whole innards just came out.
Innards.
Innards.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
The guts. The innards. I like innards.
Yeah.
So with guts falling out of his body, he's sitting there bleeding out, dying, waiting on some help. It took almost an hour for the paramedics to finally get there. I guess because I don't know, was it just a busy wrestling event? Like,
well, and I did hear, and I don't know how true this is, that there was a Menudo concert going on in the area.
Well, that'll do it.
And at the time, Menudo was huge, so I don't know if there was traffic issues.
Maybe all the paramedics were at the Menudo show.
It could be. But Menudo, for people that don't know, it was like a boy band, right?
Yep.
And they were huge.
Ricky Martin was in Menudo.
Well, there were different versions of it, right?
Oh, okay. I don't know.
I don't know.
Menudo ran like the
I don't know who the
basically
OGs
like
were.
the Mickey Mouse Club. Like it just kept rotating those
them in.
fresh young boys into there.
Mm-hmm.
And they used to sing like Spanglish type songs.
Yeah.
Like a mix.
Yeah. Like this is rather fuerte. I don't even know if that was a song. Like look at Tommy, he's caliente.
Yeah. They kind of mix it.
Spanglish is right on.
Yeah. I mean, that was their.
Look at Tommy. He's so caliente.
It's a good mix.
It's good.
But yeah, if that had something to do with it, I don't know. But yeah, like you said, 40-some minutes, 45 minutes.
Yeah, close to an hour, almost an hour. Now, again, this is a big wrestling dude, right? They're
Huge,
they're
300 plus, yeah.
Huge, tremendous. So the paramedics couldn't pick him up.
Right.
They just had normal people strength, not professional wrestler strength. So actually, your boy Atlas actually had to help them get his bleeding out carcass out of there, and hopefully, make his way to the hospital.
They said he was carded at 300 pounds. I don't know how big he actually was, but they used to announce him as 300-pound Bruiser Brody.
And Atlas made a comment, I guess, that he curls that much. He's like, I curl 300 pounds. So it was like not that big of a deal for him to,
just pick him up.
He's that strong. But he talked about that in the Vice.
Steroids work wonders.
I could probably curl like 3 pounds.
Yeah.
Easy.
I think we do like 30, 60, maybe 60.
I don't know, Tony. I don't think he was on steroids. I think he was natural. Just natural. That big. Yeah.
He ate a lot of like steak and brown rice.
I don't know. I mean,
there's no way them guys are natural. That can't be that big, man. I don't know. I'm no scientist.
I'm no scientist.
I'm no scientist.
But I mean, I'm sure some people genetically could pull it off, and then there's some people that need enhancement. I don't know that he did, but I do know he could curl a ton.
It's much like when you go and get like chicken breasts from KFC.
Yeah, or those rotisserie chickens from Costco.
There's no way they're that big, man.
Man,
go ahead.
I get into this with my wife all the time. I love the chickens from Sam's Club or Costco.
Oh yeah, the rotisserie. Amazing.
They are amazeballs. Like they're so good. But my wife eats super clean, or wants to clean.
Right.
And she will just up and down say, God, you don't know what they inject into those things. You don't know what they're putting in there.
Yeah.
Chickens aren't supposed to be that big.
Steroids,
right?
Yeah.
Let alone whatever kind of salt or other flavoring they're putting in there before they
process it or whatever.
Subject them to the old heat lamp.
But in the U.S., like if you don't exceed the what is that, Department of Agriculture's USDA regulations, like they can pretty much put whatever they want into these chickens. And I think like humans kind of like got into that, like, hey, if I put these into myself, I can get pretty damn big.
It made the chicken big. Maybe eating the chicken's going to make me big.
Yeah, you're right.
So you've certainly seen that over the course of years, to the point now where they advertise milk that there's no hormones or shit like that, because kids were drinking this milk, and all of a sudden, like, young girls, have huge boobs.
Yeah.
Or these dudes
are having their period like at 9 years old.
Correct.
Yeah. Like it was not.
Dudes have big dongs.
Yeah. two dongs.
I drank a lot of milk.
Dude has 2 dongs.
What happened? 1 chicken.
Yeah.
No, it is. It's like dude had to been on something, man.
Dang, how'd you get that? Drink your milk.
Drink your milk.
It does
It'd be a
body
good commercial,
good.
man.
Yeah.
Kids would be drinking it like crazy.
Oh my God.
I'm 8 years old. I got these double D's. What's that from? Milk.
It does a body good.
That's what they say. That's their claim.
It is.
Allegedly.
Yep.
So, unfortunately for old Bruiser Brody, his luck was not on his side. He ended up dying from those stab wounds. Of course, later a trial is going to ensue.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you find this guy with a bloody knife in his hand at the scene of the crime. But Jose, claimed up and down it was self-defense. This guy attacked me. This guy was coming at me. This guy's had it out for me for years. You can see what he did to me. Watch the footage. Yep. I can have the court reporter play it back to you. That old match. This is before YouTube's.
Right.
But look, there's this match here where he just beat the shit out of me. Like he just has it in for me.
But wasn't he already convicted of a crime in Puerto Rico?
Who's JHG?
Jose Huertas Gonzalez.
Thank you.
I thought we were still talking about human growth hormone.
No, JHG.
That's
That's
GMO.
HGH.
Isn't that GMO?
That's HGH or human growth.
Yeah, that's the
hormone.
stuff that during the big home run battle.
Yeah, they were all on them.
With who was that?
That was McGuire and Canseco and
Jose Canseco, Mark McGuire,
Barry
and
Bonds.
Barry Bonds.
Barry
Yeah,
Bonds. No, there
Barry
was the other
Bonds.
one, the guy from Chicago.
Oh,
Sammy Sosa.
Peter Cetera?
Yeah, Peter.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he is from Chicago. Yeah, top shelf,
one.
as you would say.
Top shelf, sir.
Top shelf.
That's grade A.
But did you hear about like when he went to the Tony Atlas rode with him in the ambulance, right?
Right.
So this is on that Vice thing that I was able to watch. I think you said you got to see a little bit of it,
Yeah,
right?
I saw it.
And when he got to the hospital, the doctors there were kind of blowing it off like, oh, stabs. We get them all the time.
Yeah, make
here.
him wait.
Yeah,
It's like
man.
not a big deal.
Yeah, they were told him.
This is Puerto Rico. We get stab victims all the time.
Yeah, they were saying just sit in the room. We'll get to you then.
Yeah.
And Atlas was like flipping out, like, no, you need to come down. He actually grabbed one of the doctors and brought him over.
Yeah, grab the doctor, pick him
Body
up.
slam,
And luckily he did. I
Headlock.
mean, not luckily because we know what happens, but
leg drop.
he ended up. They were like, oh, we'll take care of it. We already got this part done. Whatever they sewed up, they're like, we're working on the other part. He'll be fine, but you need to leave because you're scaring all the doctors here. And he left under the assumption that he was in stable condition.
Yeah, they told him he'll be okay.
He'll be good.
Next
and
morning he'll be fine.
He'll be fine. And he left there. Now he went back to the wrestling match or the venue.
Tony Atlas did.
Tony Atlas
Definitely
did.
not Bruiser Brody.
No, Brody's still in.
Well,
on
he
the
still had
hospital bed.
he still had a match, like later
Well,
on.
Atlas did, but not only did Invader end up still wrestling that night, he actually ended up wrestling after that. But he had left and went home and came back and wrestled. So a lot of them said he probably went to get rid of the murder weapon.
Sure.
But when Tony Atlas got back and he went into the locker room, people were laughing and having a good time, and there's blood still on the floor, it's
Jesus.
still wet. And he said, "What do you got? Like a guy
Did you see what
almost
happened?
died.
Yeah, a
you
guy
know,
almost
and,
died in
and,
here.
and they were like, the security guards came in, were like, you need to calm down. You need to chill out. He's like, no. He's like, and they're like, no, these fans get crazy and this stuff happens all the time. He's like, fans, what are you talking about? The story was going around that a fan stabbed him.
Oh.
And that's what
And
they
he-
told the wrestlers. So they were
The
all
wrestlers
like,
were all
they didn't
going
care.
with this story, and Tony Allen's like, no, that guy stabbed him. I was here, and blah, blah, blah. I was pointing at that guy, and everybody already kind of had their stories kind of going the other way. So there was a big
Which
thing
it
going.
wasn't in Puerto Rico. He was Gonzalez was a big Puerto Rican like champion. They all
Right.
thought
He was in charge of signing like the
yeah, he was a
right?
promoter.
He was
Yeah.
the Hulk Hogan of Puerto Rico.
Is that what it was? Yeah.
And so they were like, he's the one that said, hey, it was some guy that came in here. I don't know what happened. Like that and they were like, no. That and they just went on with the story because
Right.
he was respected there.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, like he's still respected
Man,
in
they-
Puerto Rican wrestling.
They already had the defense for him and everything. Like,
Yeah.
we
They
got to
were-
get the heat off of this guy.
They were already covering almost.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, for damn sure he was covered because, I mean, that thing went down in the middle of 1988. Not but a year later in 89, he was acquitted.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, they did. They didn't have a murder weapon. They said it was a fight. He said that
It was self-defense. Yeah.
yeah, Brody attacked him.
Mhm.
But I don't understand how you attack somebody with a knife wrapped in a towel where he was like, and then he stabbed him with the towel and the knife.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, there was a lot of weird stuff with this story.
Street justice.
Street justice, yeah.
Ring justice.
Ring justice.
Well, Puerto Rico is a pretty tough area.
Oh, yeah.
The whole place?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never been.
Well, no, I know they have resorts and stuff there, but they say, going there. I mean, it's an American territory. It's not a state, but they use our currency and everything. But they said it's they really don't like that they're a part of the United States.
United States.
So it's kind of a whole other culture out there.
Puerto Ricans don't like that they're a part of the United States.
Yes, pretty much.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. There were people that wanted to pursue this and, try to have them reinvestigate and all that, but it's just all dead ends because anytime anybody goes there, they get threats, they get kind of shut down, and it's kind of like, no, this is how many years ago now, so.
Mm.
Yeah, this was featured on I think we were talking about that earlier. Vice has that Dark Side of the Ring. It's whatever episode, but if you guys are more interested in that, it's a good story. And
It's like 40 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's not like a long watch or anything. It's not a whole movie.
It's shorter than this podcast.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Pretty much. But this guy, this Invader guy, like he has a Facebook page. They said you can get him for like kids' birthdays and stuff currently.
He comes in, he comes with stabs like a fake knife.
Wait a second. JHG is available for kids' parties.
Yes. It's
Yes.
like on his Facebook. He'll show up.
Today only you have the Jose Huertas Gonzalez. He will
Yeah.
come to your party and stab them for fake, but not for real.
He's
Yeah.
so caliente.
Yeah. I'll stab your cake.
He'll stab
birthday
your cake.
cake.
It's like the cake starts bleeding.
Yeah.
He gets a towel and puts
Cleans it up.
yeah, cleans it up. I mean, that's not funny. I mean, the guy killed somebody.
That's horrible. And, maybe it was self-defense. Nobody knows. I guess you'll never know.
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
2 dudes, 1 knife.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, like that Brody guy, like maybe he said something to piss him off, but he had a knife on him, so there was something awry.
Right. I mean, according to the Tony
Who puts
Atlas,
a knife in a shower in the first place?
right. There's no need for one there.
No.
Maybe he was shaving.
Shaving.
Shaving? Yeah.
He said, "I got to shave before the big bout."
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Whiskers.
Big whiskers. Needs a good shave.
And the other thing, too, I think we talked about, I don't know if I did mention when I was talking about the ambulance and all that stuff, is that because it's wrestling and it's like pretend a lot of times and fake, they thought that,
Part
I
of
guess
the
maybe
act.
this was like
They
didn't
were
take
punking him?
Yeah, like the authorities maybe thought, oh, yeah, it's probably not as bad as they're saying. It's probably like, this and that.
They
So
thought the
weren't,
stab
like,
might
in a
have been
hurry.
part of like, maybe like a little cut, so he's bleeding.
And the other part I thought about earlier when you said,
Ketchup packet.
yes, like maybe it was staged. But the other part I thought about the bleeding and taking aspirin because it thins your blood.
Sure.
He had taken aspirin that day because of the match to bleed more,
Mm.
bleed easier. So that was actually detrimental then.
Mm.
He ended up bleeding out more. His blood didn't clot. And that could have been contributed to it. That's what they said. So-
How much do you want to get paid where you'd be like, I want you to cut yourself a little bit so you're bleeding a lot?
Yeah.
And we also want to hinder the clotting
Yeah, so it
abilities
just-
of
yeah.
your blood.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll let you bleed for about 20 minutes. It'll look great for the camera.
Tape it up.
Here's $75. Thanks for the effort.
And a chicken.
But for these guys, it's their craft. You know what
It
I
is
mean?
their
They're-
craft. We're talking. What year was this again? 1988.
88.
Yeah.
For what were they making? I bet not even $1,000
I don't know.
in
like,
Puerto Rico
I mean, who knows?
for a match.
I know there was talks of him, like I think somebody asked McMahon about like if he would ever came to the WWF, and there were plans that he was maybe going to come over to the like he wasn't closed minded to the idea of having him join the WWF
Mm-hmm.
and being like a villain for Hogan to fight or one
Sure,
of those guys,
sure.
because this guy was like well respected in this whole wrestling industry and stuff. I know they in that documentary, what was his name? Mick Foley.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was on the very beginning.
Mankind was his
Was that his wrestling name?
Mankind. Yep.
And
Didn't he have that puppet?
Yes. Yes, he did.
Saki or Saki?
Yeah, Saki.
Saki, the
Well,
puppet.
he talked about how much this guy inspired him, and so in the world of wrestling, this dude was well known and well respected.
I went to a book signing of his long time ago.
Mm.
I mean, I was in my extreme late teens, early 20s.
No, but there was
so
a
funny, man.
there's
Mankind.
Mankind.
To be clear,
Yeah,
Mankind.
Mankind.
Mankind has a show about him and like with his family. He's a good family man. But that one wrestling bout he did with the Undertaker, where he slammed him through the cage, he fell 30 feet.
Yep.
And his family thought he was dead. Like they showed his wife and his kids. They were like, "I think Dad's dead, Mom."
They did some of the wildest shit.
Oh, my God,
I mean,
like-
he did specifically. He pushed the envelope
Yes.
so far, so far.
What year did he come into like wrestling and stuff? Was that after like Stone, or was that when
That was
Stone Cold and The Rock and all
late
that?
90s,
It
mid to
was-
late 90s.
Yeah, it was right. It was right around that
After-
that Stone Cold. It was the Attitude Era of the WWE.
Because I remember like my roommate I was talking about earlier. We were telling a story. He was way into like Stone Cold, Steve
Mm-hmm.
Austin, The Rock, and all that. And they would order the pay-per-views,
Okay.
and they were like way into it. And I don't remember him, Mankind, like from that era. But I'm assuming
he wore like half the mask. He acted like he was crazy. He had a couple different.
Yep.
He had flannels on and stuff.
Yeah,
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's him.
Well, he was McFoley, then Mankind, and then back to McFoley, or
Maybe I only ever knew him as Mankind, then Mick Foley.
but no, like the stuff that those guys would do to their bodies was. I mean, I don't know if I could. And today, like they show a lot of them where they're like maybe a couple million in the bank, 2.5 million.
Oh,
But
yeah.
all that for that, they can't even walk hardly anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think it's worth all that.
they get a gold-plated wheelchair.
Yeah.
I
For
know.
real.
But yeah, crazy story.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was. Definitely, like I said, when I looked up wrestling, like crimes,
Crazy.
and
We say
stories,
that a lot too.
It's crazy.
That was
It
a
is
crazy
It's
story.
crazy.
It's nuts.
But now that when I looked them up, like this was at the top, like one of the most well known. So I figured it'd be a cool one. I mean, there's other ones, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then another one a guy brought up at work, and I do remember this one. The guy that killed his wife and the kid, he went Benoit or
Chris
Benoit.
Benoit.
Chris
Chris
Benoit.
Benoit. He
Chris
went
Benoit.
nuts.
Yeah.
If you're American and you read his
Yeah.
name, you would say Benoit,
Benoit, yeah.
but it's Benoit.
Chris Benoit.
Yep.
But he lost his shit.
The guy at work was like, "Oh, you're gonna do that one?" I'm like, "No, we did this Bruiser Brody."
Yeah,
I said,
man, we're all wrestled out.
Yeah, I said, but I forgot about that one. Yeah,
Yeah,
because that was a
Actually,
big
yeah.
one too. But yeah, so anyway, that was cool. I mean, it was kind of inspired by the event we went to, the wrestling one, and we like to do sports related crimes from time to time. Like Matt just did the hockey guy, and
I feel inspired.
yeah. So I'm not sure what we'll be back with next week, but
Something for you.
true crime or
Yeah.
compelling story. You guys got anything else in closing?
No, it's fun to talk about McFoley.
Yeah, right.
Watch out for Jose Huertas Gonzalez.
Yeah, the guy does a birthday party.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you need somebody.
yeah. I mean, that'd be something else. But I guess like in Puerto Rico, there he's like well respected, and they, you know what I mean. But at any rate, don't forget to find us on Facebook and Instagram at Old Dirty Basement, on TikTok at Old Dirty Basement Podcast, and I guess that's it for now. So we'll catch you where.
On the flip side,
If we don't see you sooner, we'll see you later.
peace. Thanks for hanging out in the Old Dirty Basement. If you dig our theme music like we do, check out the Tsunami Experiment. Find them on Facebook. Their music is available streaming on Spotify and Apple, and where great music is available.
You can find us at Old Dirty Basement on Facebook and Instagram, and at Old Dirty Basement Podcast on TikTok.
Peace.
We Audi 5000.